should go to college.
You should not go to college. The only reason you'd go to college is if you are going to run for president of the United States. Because you're not going to be a brain surgeon.
Okay.
You do not need to do it for Wall Street because you're just going to run Cardone Capital to $100 billion. And I don't require you to have a college degree to do that.
Don't you think people would kind of write me off for not having a college degree?
No. Just because you have the money and just because you have the real estate, now you need the competency. As long as you have the competency, nobody will write you off. But everyone will underestimate you, young lady. Even with a college degree, they'll underestimate you. You go to Harvard, they're still going to underestimate you. They're going to say, oh, your daddy was rich. That's your superpower.
Hundreds of thousands of Americans are skipping college and taking on pay-by-the-hour work amid fears over skyrocketing tuition and student debt. And this is a great thing. If forget the fears about crippling student debt, what they should really realize is that college is a scam, first and foremost, because it shouldn't be that expensive. It isn't overseas, but also because of the degrees that they're giving you that render you absolutely useless. The purpose of college is for the government to have you for 4 years, and these children are coming out. We're starting to realize that. I think what's happening is that my generation has grown up. We have realized how useless our college degrees are, and I hope that we are being encouraged to tell our children that if you have a business idea, go for it. That's it. You don't need to have a meaningless degree. You don't have to say, I went to the University of so-and-so and majored in sociology.
Okay, I'm probably going to get some flack for this, but really I don't care. So before you come at me, because I know anybody that has a college degree is probably going to come at me. I have 2 college degrees and I still believe this. I believe that college is a scam. I believe that it's a money-making machine, and that's all it is. And we have told ourselves, and we've told our children in society, that if you don't go to college, you're never going to get ahead in life. That's bullshit, right? I truly believe that trade schools are probably better than college. And I think that a 4-year college can honestly be turned into 2 years. When I heard my son going to college, me and my husband talked about this. He didn't go to classes like when he woke up until he went to sleep. Everything that he did in those 4 years with between summer breaks, everything else could have been condensed into 2 years. But I think that they wanted it to be 4 years because that's more money that they can make from the person. You know, not only money to go to college and books, but him having to pay for an apartment, a house, living expenses, everything in that area. So I think it's just a money-making scheme. But they said, oh, you're going to get yourself ahead because you have this college degree. Also bullshit. My son graduated from college, and I understand that when you first graduate, that piece of paper doesn't say that you're qualified to do anything. Let's be real. So he does have to start in an entry-level position. You know, so he makes $40,000 a year with his college degree. And I get that they want to see experienced persons first. But I can tell you that I have 2 college degrees. I only got those through the military, right? So I joined the military when I was his age because I couldn't afford college. The military gave me those 2, didn't give me, I worked for those 2 degrees. And when I retired from the military after 22 years, I was able to get a job. And it was a 6-figure salary. Do I believe it had anything to do with my degrees? Absolutely not, because I wasn't even working in what my degrees were for. I think it had everything to do with the fact that I had served 22 years in the military, and the experience is what they were hiring me for, the management experience, not the degrees that I had. But right now, it's like when they put so much emphasis on these college degrees, you spend 4 years, which I think could be down to 2, hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debts just to get a job that you can't even afford to live with. Something's got to change with that. You know, something is absolute, because we are just setting them up to fail.
Why do you think college is a scam?
Half of this audience, if you get a job, will get a job that doesn't require a college degree. 41% of kids that enter college will not graduate. And the vast majority of kids, 60 to 70% that go to college, I believe study things that are completely worthless, meaningless, and don't enrich society at all.
Is that the fault of the student or the college?
Let's talk about the institution itself. So everyone in the audience here, how many of you have had to take classes that are a waste of time, that you wish you didn't have to take, that are a waste of money, and that every single hand goes up? Look around, look around, look around, look around. They're scamming every kid in this audience. They are forcing them to take classes that make them poorer, that take up their time in order to get the credential. That is an institutional scam. And by the way, every other part of life is all about your own customization. Your Netflix account, how you get your burrito bowl, from how you dress, your Amazon cart is you are in charge. But you come to college and they say you must go take these 3, 4, 5 classes that are very expensive, especially for you out-of-state students, to go further into debt, study things that don't matter, to find jobs that don't exist. That sounds like a scam.
People with money are not buying their kids' college degrees anymore, and I'm about to tell you what they're doing instead. I'm going to preface this with, I do not come from money. My family was on food stamps at one point. That's how much we do not come from money. But because I ended up in tech and I started working in AI, I've been exposed to different types of people. And then through Degree Free, I've ended up doing some more custom education options for people with an educational budget that exceeds the normal budget. Find me because no one does what I do. So this is outside of the launch program, which is goal-based, income-based. But for some people, not us, not most people, but for some people, they have educational budgets set aside to spend on whatever they want. And for those people, it has been very interesting to watch the shift at higher levels of, I wouldn't even say income, I'll call it wealth. Because something that people in a certain income bracket, and this again is I've watched and I've read a lot and I've observed this, but something with people with certain levels of wealth, they start to value time a lot more than the rest of us do. And because of that, as colleges have taken longer and they've gotten less impactful, people with real money instead are paying for their kids to get a defined outcome. And by defined outcome, I mean they are going to get better or they are going to learn something actionable from whatever education they are getting. And this is for artists, for kids interested in tech, for kids interested in music, all different types of things. They are not sending them to four-year colleges because the general education classes waste their time, waste their energy, and waste their money when they can spend it to hire people who are really good to teach their kids or send their kids to really specific schools that are not colleges but are in fact teaching a specific skill. And the reason I want you to know this is because when rich people start doing things that the rest of us are not doing, there's a reason. And they usually start doing things differently first, and then it trickles down to the rest of us. And I'll again preface this with the risk calculation that if they have money to burn, they do not have to consider income in the same priority of goals that the rest of us do. So it's different for them. Instead, they can prioritize work type or industry in the way that the rest of us who do not have money to burn cannot. I'll tell you a story. I'll change her name for privacy's sake. But I was working with a young adult, 17, almost 18, out of Houston, Texas. Kyla is her name. Not really, but we're going to call her Kyla for the purpose of this. Her family has educational budgets set aside. Not a small amount of money. She wants to have flexible work, so she has most of her time. She does have to work still, but she has money set aside for her to spend to learn whatever she wants to learn, which, amazing. Some people have that, some of us don't, but she does. And because of that, what's interesting about this is the end result for her ended up being far cheaper than a college degree, which is so funny, but this is why I think the rest of you need to know about this, because you can look for these type of options for your kids, save them money, save them time, and get a better result. But basically, Kyla came into the program, into the launch program, and there's an educational option if you have a different sort of budget, something the parents inform me of, and then I'm able to do different things because they have a different risk calculation, like I said, than the rest of us. And so for her, she really wanted to become a tailor. She just really wanted to do it. She wanted to make custom clothing. She wanted to design dresses. Okay, awesome. But she had only done a little bit of sewing herself, and so I was able to find for her a specific tailoring school in London. This is interesting because the cost of flying to London is very cool. It's a very custom school. There's one instructor. He's been doing it for about 20 years. It's a Savile Row tailor, so he's very experienced, and he trains. You stay in, it's almost like a bed and breakfast type of situation, and you stay there for about 6 months, and it's very intensive. And that is what he does, and the total cost of that was less than $15,000. Less than $15,000. It costs $26,000 on average to go to an in-state university right now. But watching this has made me realize that the rest of us can do what they're doing, and you as parents can research and find specific schools, specific instructors, and that changing the way you think about educational spend would really help with this, because it is mindset. Whereas it's so interesting, but a lot of people would view buying a college degree that gets no defined result and instead just causes debt as a better investment than, let's say, paying $60 an hour to a language tutor to teach your child another language so they can get a job as a translator, or use that with another basic skill set in order to work for a healthcare company or a financial company that does business in other countries, or anything really. And I think this is why I think the definition of education is so important, and how we think about it really needs to change, because and this is why you guys hear me say this all the time, but college is not education. Those words are not synonyms. College is an educational product like any other educational product. And right now, for most people, the result that you get is subpar. But what I'm telling you is that you don't need to buy it. You can look for alternative options, call, email, vet them yourself. That's what I do. I do that for people, but that doesn't mean that you can't do it. I'm just faster at finding them. That's all. If your child wants to do something and they're sure, and there's educational budget set aside, then please look for better options. And when I say better options, I mean things that will teach them what they actually want to learn, not make them sit through a bunch of nonsense that they don't need to hear. And when I say they don't need to hear it, I mean it's literally not education, because if you are just distributed information that you find useless, that you don't listen to, that is boring or actively wastes your energy, that is not education. It is information rendered poorly. And no, there is no value in that. There is value in your child actively learning from someone who is experienced, to reading and educating in a field, in a skill set that they are interested in, no matter what that is. Even if that's coding, even if that's doing field operations for a mining company, even if that's basting and doing stitches, even if that's some sort of film production. It doesn't matter. But I just want people to know that there are other options out there, and to know that people who have money right now, they're not sending their kids down the conveyor belt anymore. They're just not doing it because they know that that is not effective anymore. It does not have the same result that it used to. And I mean, it hasn't for decades, but they know that. And so their actions are now different. And I think that approaching it more, that the educational money is going to go out the door for educational spend. Because of that, even though a lot of us don't have nearly nothing close. There was nothing for me. There was nothing. There was $0 for me and my siblings. $0. All of that was on us. All of it. But if myself and my parents had approached the amount that I was going to spend for college more objectively, we would have spent it on different things that would have actually helped me and actually taught me more. And I think that is something that you all should know, because this is something you can do. And some of you know, Ryan and I just wrote the book on this, The Degree Free Way. It's a young adult and parent workbook set to help you figure out what jobs are going to work for your kid's life. And you can use these to figure out what options are going to work for them. And then from there, that's where you go into research mode and you start looking for custom things that get the outcome that your child wants from education. You do not have to take all the crap. You can just look and pay for the things that you want. That's the beauty of the world we live in, with all these different options, with all these amazing things. They are out there. You just have to it just does take time. It does take effort to sit down with them, to work through things, and to find the right one, to vet the right one, and then set up the right one. There's more coordination. But I want to take the fear out of it, because other people are doing this. People that have a lot of resources, and the rest of us can do it too. And honestly, it's kind of cool, because the choices I see them making, for the most part, are actually more accessible than college. They're more accessible because they're higher quality options, but they don't cost as much because they're more targeted. You don't have to buy all the other crap. Just buy what you need. And when you buy what you need for education and you pay for educational services you actually need, it doesn't cost nearly as much as a college degree, and it doesn't take nearly as much time. And that is beautiful, because what I see is it's going to usher in, as soon as this connection problem gets solved, it's going to usher in an educational renaissance. People are going to speak other languages. People are going to learn new technology so much faster. And the world is going to be bright and beautiful. It's very cool. Very cool.
Ma, is you mad about me not going to college? Because when I just brought it up, you just ran upstairs.
I'm sorry. I'm not mad. I just have a headache and it's cold downstairs. The heat rises. That's why I'm always coming up here, but I'm not mad about you not wanting to go to school. College ain't for everybody. You do need to take business courses, and you can do that at community college for your business, but as long as you not doing nothing criminal or unethical or immoral, I don't care if you go to college or not. You're gonna be living your own life. College is so expensive. I'm still paying off student loans and getting some student loans deferred from nursing school. So college is expensive. So you have to think about what you want to do, what your career gonna be, and then figure out how you're going to get there. So you want to be a cosmetologist or esthetician, you have to go to a cosmetology school and an esthetician school, and then you take the proper business courses so you know how to run your business. You don't have to go to a regular college. So no, I'm not mad. I just have a really bad headache, and I'm sorry if I made you feel like I was mad.
It's okay.
So you wouldn't go to college for 4 years to get out to work for somebody and make 200 grand?
No, not with the knowledge I have.
What is this knowledge that you got? What are you, an alien?
Nah. I mean, I'm gonna do real estate. I mean, you've taught me my whole life. Heck, I could go make $100,000 doing real estate and be making more than the guy who's making $200,000 because the government's coming and taking all his money.
Well, I don't know if you would make more, but you'd be close, right? You're really motivated to go to the gym. But when it's time for you to work, you lazy as man. How you gonna make money?
I'm gonna just make myself do it because I can do stuff if I force myself to do something.
Then why don't you work to become wealthy now? Why are you like waiting? Your mom told me why you didn't graduate early. She said you ain't graduate early because you knew if you did, I was gonna put you to work.
Yeah, I mean, I might as well enjoy my time that I have as a kid because as soon as it's time to work, I'm gonna have to work a lot.
So you got one class to do all next year.
One required class, yeah.
So you drug out a whole extra year just so you ain't had to go to work.
Yeah, basically.
Unless you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant, college is a total waste of time. I'm sorry, all the college people and highly educated people with really expensive pieces of paper on your wall. The truth of the matter is there's only 3 people in my life that I care to have a college education or college at all. A doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant. At the end of the day, man, we have supercomputers in our pockets. Like my son literally has learned Photoshop and videography through YouTube and is making significantly more money than anybody that he knows by doing photography and videography by what he learned on YouTube in 2 months. I'm not going to say it's a scam, but college is not necessarily the best place for you to send your kids or spend any money or spend any time. Just go to YouTube.
We, as a society, have been conditioned with this belief system for the longest time, especially in the United States, that we graduate high school and we go to college. Well, guess what? Newsflash, times are changing. University, college is so expensive these days, and the cost of living with our economy, kids can't go out and even afford housing, right? So when my kids graduated, the question I got probably 80% of the time has been, where are they going to school? Where are they going to college? Guess what? Times have changed. Let's change our languaging, because what I met when I said they're not is I was met with tons of judgment in the face. Like, what? Guess what? That's just not the thing these days. And guess what? I am so freaking proud of my kids. So they came back for the summer. We sat down, we worked on a budget. We worked on what it would look like for them to leave the state and do what they want to do. My son's going back to Hawaii, where he was born and raised. And my daughter is going to California for the sunshine. I don't blame them. Okay, it's expensive. That's what I get from everyone. They're not gonna let us, it's so expensive. Let them try, let them fail. I'm proud of my kids for stepping outside of the box and doing it. We'll see what happens, but I'm not going to hold them back. Let's change our languaging and encourage the kids to push the box, get outside the box, push the boundaries.
I am never going to send my daughter to college. She can go, but I'm not paying for it. My wife and I both have degrees. My wife's a dang doctor. Even with all that, we are not pro-college. Nowadays, college is just preparing everybody to be an employee and not a boss. And the best thing that ever happened to me and my wife is when we stopped being employees with our college degrees, we started being bosses. Sure, if my daughter is absolutely set on going to college and she wants to go, great, but I'm not paying for it, because that's not how I want to train or teach my family to be bosses and to be self-sufficient. On top of that, we've already talked about how we're going to incentivize her to become a boss. We've been bringing her around our Airbnbs, bringing her around our business. We're never going to not talk about business with her. We're going to ask her, what do you think of this? We're going to bring up the problems and ask her how she would solve it. And when she can't solve it, we want to help her solve it so she can see how adults can do that without always going to a textbook that doesn't usually have the answers to the very specific problem in front of them. Now, unless you're going to be an engineer, the quantum physics course is pretty much irrelevant to the rest of your life. But teaching somebody how to fish, teaching somebody how to develop and market, that's invaluable. That's where the real value is.
parents of teenagers. Can we talk? If there is one thing I know about raising kids, it is that you cannot choose their path for them. My child is choosing not to go to college, but you know what? I support him. He went to trade school to be an electrician. He's not choosing that path either, and I support him. I'm sitting in the car right now, about to go with him to meet with one of the biggest suppliers for his small business in the nation. He's in high school. I'm just in awe. These kids, they are smart, they are resourceful, they are thinking outside of the box. In high school, I was working at Fashion Bug. I was filling out paperwork with my high school student counselor, working towards a liberal arts degree in college. I don't even know what that is. I didn't even want to do it. That's just what they told us we were supposed to do. So if you're in high school and you're not planning to go to college, you are not a failure. Your generation has more access to information and opportunities than we could have ever dreamed of. And information is free. YouTube, social media, mentors. And don't get me wrong, college is great, but it's not for everybody, and that's okay. We have to make that okay. So don't worry about the pressures people have put on you. Don't worry about not being able to afford a house right now. Don't worry about how expensive things are. Your time will come, I promise you that. You aren't lazy, you aren't entitled, you aren't any of the things that people are saying you are. You are the first generation to do things a new way. And for what it's worth, I'm proud of you.
Here's why college is a waste of time. And I'm going to get a lot of slack for this because I actually have an engineering degree, but I don't think in the current world, the time and money you exchange for a degree is worth it. I believe as a man, you can go learn a skill in 3 to 4 years time and get a better return on your investment than you would from college. What happens is most guys go to college, myself included, and you incur debt. You get loans that you have to pay off and you get a good income, but not so much that way you can scale it. There's a ceiling to how much money you can make. I believe that right now you can put your mind to a skill, dedicate that same time you would have spent in college, focus, learn a skill, and your ceiling will be much higher in terms of the income you can earn.
Unpopular opinion, but when I have kids, I would not encourage them to go to college. Unless you have a scholarship, you have to take out loans, and as soon as you come out of college, you're in all of this debt. You are 22, 23 years old with so much debt just because you wanted to get a degree, and these degrees these days don't mean anything, especially if you're trying to get a job in corporate. Because at the end of the day, these jobs want you to have experience. And it's like, well, duh, I don't have experience. I was in school for the past 4 years, but they don't care about that. You're not going to get the money that you deserve or the job that you deserve because they want you to have experience. So now you're taking a job just because you need work, and then you have to pay back all of this money for the degree. I am an advocate for going to trade schools. One, trade schools aren't that much. I mean, it still is expensive, but it's better than being in debt hundreds of thousands of dollars. And with trade school, you'll get a license for something instead of just a broad degree. You'll get a license, and then you'll also get certification. Certifications and having a license get you way further than having a bachelor's degree. So unless you're trying to be a lawyer or a doctor, I don't think going to college really makes sense. I am going to encourage my kids to find a trade, like something an electrician or construction or even like IT or HVAC. People that have those certifications, they become contractors, they start their own businesses, and even if they work for someone, they always have work because those type of jobs are jobs that they just never go out of business. Like you're always gonna need like an electrician or a plumber or an HVAC, and those jobs, you make great money. So I will encourage my kids to do that, or I will encourage my kids to be a business owner. After high school, all of those 4 years or 5 years that you spend going to college, you can actually spend learning on how to invest, starting your own business, just learning financial literacy, because even in college, they don't teach you financial literacy, at least the college that I went to. I feel like if I never would have went to college and I just went straight to esthetician school after high school, I would have been way more successful. And I think it's so important to teach kids that it's not about going to college and getting a degree and working for someone. I feel like we need to start encouraging our kids that there's more things than working for someone. You could be a business owner, or you can have something where you have a certification or like a trade and you could become like a contractor. It's not always about like a clock in, clock out type of situation. And financial literacy, teaching our kids how to invest. Once you know how to invest, you're college for what?
That's why college is a scam. These degrees, right, there's only a few classes required towards your degree that will actually help you in the path that you're pursuing. But they make you take math, science, history, all these bullshit classes because what does it do? It makes you pay for more classes, so it brings the college more money. If you know that you don't want to be a science major or a math major and you have no future in those fields, you should never have to take those fucking classes. It